All right, good afternoon, guys. Thanks for coming. MVPs from the game, wrap up from the other night would be Anthony Torres. Sat here last week, said I thought he had his best game as a Rocket 2 weeks ago, and he doubled down and had a better one the other night. So he'd be our MVP on offense. Gave it to two guys on defense, multiple guys on defense. I thought had really good individual opportunities and performances. But Max and Hook and Quinyon Mitchell, I think, had complete games. Turned it over, made quality plays in the secondary. We knocked down a lot of passes the other night, and that's 2 weeks in a row. We've had a high number of pass breakups, and those guys were at the forefront of that. Quinyon's block punt I thought was a huge moment in the game, and two guys that have been really, really consistent all year long. And then the kicking game, obviously, Jacquez Stewart's kickoff to open the game I thought was huge. He gets kind of the individual attention with that, but that was a really well-blocked play, really – good job throughout the course of the week of getting a plan and the guys executing the plan and doing it at a high level. So that was great to see, and it aided a really good start and really probably propelled us to a victory if you really boil it down to it. So those were the guys that I thought, highlighted plays throughout the course of the game. We press on. We move forward to the next one. Eastern Michigan, a great opponent, a team that's very well coached and one that's has played us really tough over here the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, 6 years. So be a quality opponent, be a great night in the glass bowl. Got to make sure that we do a good job of handling the week of preparation and anticipation for a hard-fought game.
You guys have played at a high level all season, as your record indicates. How frustrating are the turnovers in a game like Tuesday where, their offense wasn't doing a whole lot and kind of the only way you can get beat is to turn it over?
Well, I think the frustrating thing is you look at the game and you go back and you see 53 offensive plays, and where do your shortcomings come, and how do you not, they take points off the board, and what you really don't want to have happen is provide the other team with opportunities to score, and a couple times we did that, which is really frustrating. So, it's hard to win football games when you turn the ball over 4 times. We've done it twice this year, which is, that's probably only going to happen twice out of 100, and we're living dangerously there. So, we can't do it, can't turn it over, and if you do, at that level, you should probably expect to lose.
What does that mean that you've won 2 games this year where you've turned over that much?
Well, I think that, we've been aided in other areas. Really solid special teams play for the most part the other night, really good defensive performances in those 2 games that we're talking about. And really in the first one, in that game, we had a really strong offensive performance too. Especially with the clock rules now in today's football, you can't limit yourself on possessions. You got to maximize all the opportunities you get. You can't give them away, and like I said, you certainly can't give them away where you put the other team at a high advantage, and with the percentage of the opportunity to score goes way up because you give it to them on the 5-yard line or whatever. So. It's frustrating. You got to take it off the tape and continue to coach it and continue to fix it.
I don't know how far into your prep on Eastern you are, but obviously special teams were big for you the other night. They've returned 3 kicks for touchdowns this year, 3 different guys, which is pretty crazy. How big of a note will that be in your preparation for them?
Yeah, I think one of those is the opening kickoff at Kent. I think Kent tried an onside kick at the beginning of the game, and it got returned for a touchdown. So we're not going to try an onside kick to open the game. But they do a good job. They do have a couple explosive returners, and they've always been sound in special teams. I think it's a well-coached team all the way through. Like a couple of other teams in our league, that they're strong in all 3 phases. You got to plan, and you got to go win, and you got to play, and make the plays that you're supposed to make. So, it doesn't surprise me that they're good in that phase because, like I said, it's probably time spent on task and good coaching staff, good group of guys.
You guys took a lot of pride in your 3rd down conversions earlier in the season, but since it's kind of fallen off a little bit, is there something that you see on tape or in practice that you feel like can help get that back in the right shift to be able to pick up more
we still
third
take
downs?
a lot of pride in it. We just haven't been good the last 2 weeks. And for whatever reason, I think that we got to continue to address it, continue to look at what has prohibited us from having the successes that we had. I think in the Miami game, there were just a couple things that, we missed a block on a screen. We got a ball batted down at the line of scrimmage on a poor pass protection by a back. We're on the same page at QB and receiver once or twice. And really in that 3rd quarter, early 4th quarter is really the ones that stick out. And if you get half of those in that game, you feel a lot differently about it. The other night, tough couple ones early on that we didn't do a good job of, but there was a few that that we did convert. Anthony's touchdown was a third down the seam. Another big conversion for Larry Stevens on a third down. The frustrating part of it is sometimes you view third down and fourth down as a combination of conversion down. So it's really a gut punch when you don't get the third down and you go for it on fourth down, you don't get it. And we go for it here, enough to factor that into the equation. So, yeah, just like the turnovers, you keep addressing it, keep coaching it, keep finding ways to do a better job and keep progressing. If anybody thinks we're a finished product right now, you're crazy. We got a long way to go and we're still trying to improve weekly here, and I think that's part of the process.
Fast starts are a goal to each game. Obviously, jumping out 14-0 in less than 3 minutes obviously helps that speed up. I guess the plan is you guys are still settling in. You already have that lead. How does that change, I guess, when you guys get off to a fast start like that?
Yeah, I think that was the first game of the season where we didn't play defense first. They deferred to the second half when they won the toss and kicked off to us. So it was great to have that start, and whether you get off to a fast start or whether you don't, you still play 30 minutes of football. There's got to be some adjustments made from a coaching staff and from the player standpoint at halftime, and to do the best job you can to go play the second half at a high level. You'd love to start fast every game, but if it doesn't happen, it doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. So, got to play all 60 minutes, and I don't think there's any more of a visual than what you're going to see here tonight when you watch games, or last night when you watch games. This is midweek football. It's you're in the part of the country where weather affects the game, and crazy stuff happens. So you got to play all 60.
Speaking of the weather, on a lighter note, a lot of people nationally were amused that the dunk tank was an operation in that weather. What do you make of the students kind of braving the 20-degree temperature in the dunk tank on Tuesday night?
Got to define toughness somehow. We keep finding creative ways to do it. So, love it. Love the energy from our student section. They've been great all year long. It's really probably understated how much our guys feed off of that. We've played good football at home the last 2 years. I think those students have a big part to do with that. It's great to see them taking pride in our university. Great to see them seeing this as an event for them and a social event to be at throughout the course of the season, and we're going to need them here, next week too.
With the unpredictability of the weather in this region, do you guys, obviously you plan ahead, look at the forecast, but if things change on the dime, how do you, adjust to things like that with snow and rain?
I don't know if you could have predicted the other night. So I guess you just play football and return the opening kickoff. I don't know. There are variables and things that they're not going to be. They're a factor. You got to do the best job you can throughout the time to prep for that. But I'll be honest with you, I'm not the coach that just because it's 10 degrees and raining that we need to go practice outside all 5 days because someday we're going to play in it. I just don't do it. I don't think that I'd rather have good, valuable practice time. We only get so many minutes on the field with our guys throughout the course of a week that we're allowed to have. And from an emotional standpoint and from a preparation standpoint, we're going to do everything we can to maximize that. So it's kind of sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes it's hey, it's a really nasty day, and we're gonna be sluggish at practice and moving around slow. I'm not going outside in that. I'm going indoors, and we're gonna practice fast and work on the skills, because regardless of what the feeling is on a Tuesday morning at practice, on game day, it's gonna feel different, and it's gonna be different. You're gonna have to play fast, or you just get embarrassed. So, I don't know. Try to do the best job you can to prevent every scenario in every young person's life that's 18 to 22-year-old, whether it's off the field or on the field. And some things you just can't control, and you got to roll with it. So, unpredictable night the other night. Happy for our kids that they came out with great energy. I thought they aided a great start that you mentioned in your earlier question, and I think that propelled us to a victory.
You mentioned kicking. It's not the sexiest stat probably from the outside, but Emilio, I think if I'm asked correct, 44% of his kicks are landing inside the 20. Just how impressed are you with that execution of not only him, but obviously the coverage team as well?
That's a growth process for him. He's had some highlight plays. He's had some ones that we want to take back as well. But for a freshman, for a pup to come in and do what he's done, he's been great. He's been a bright spot for us, and nobody wants to lose a starter in the summer like we did, and this guy stepped up and done a really, really good job in a year where if you'd asked me back in May, is that going to be your starting punter? I would have. No, he's coming here to get his feet on the ground and figure it out, and eventually he'll win the job. But he's kind of been forced into action, and we challenge our guys all the time about not missing their moment, and he's handled his very, very well throughout the entire year, and we're going to need him down the stretch to do the same.